Okay, it's a Friday morning. Plus Sports and Plus TV Africa. The weekend is here. Rest is near. My name is Wally Scott. Welcome on the show. I've got Mukhail Tinubu with me on the show. Good morning. Now, before I go to the topic for today, what everybody wants us to talk about, I was going through the Roland Garros, the French Open clay court coming up this weekend, and I saw the rankings of the tennis players, and Federer was like the next junction away. And then they had Medvedev on the top of the list. They had Novak, Djokovic, Tsitsipas. And Federer was like, last bus stop.
Federer has been losing ground on clay for a few years. And having to go off for
like a year.
And now he's just starting to rebuild his fitness. And, I mean, he's a legend in the game, and you wouldn't blame him if he had said, okay, instead of trying to come back, he took that year and decided, this is the year I retire. But now he's trying to come back, and he has to rebuild from the ground up. I mean, Tiger Woods did it in golf. So the question is, can
he make that comeback?
Can he make that comeback? I don't know if he can, but if he does, he will be going, because sometimes as a champion, as a legend, you strive better when you're the underdog.
True.
Yeah. So if he started at the top, there would be questions of why is someone who's been gone for a year still very
Should
close.
his name get him earn him those rights, yeah.
Yeah. So, and when it comes to sports, what you did yesterday is the most relevant thing. Not what you did the day before yesterday or the day before that.
You're as good as your last show, even in broadcasting, yeah. So. This is what all of us, well, the whole world wants us to talk about. If you ask my opinion, I would not want Chelsea to win tomorrow. Not because of the game of football, not because I don't think they are good enough to win, but because of their noisy fans. After a season in which Europe's traditional powerhouses stumbled, Saturday's May 29th Champions League final between Manchester City and Chelsea is a showcase for the contemporary dominance of England's Premier League. Neither club can boast a rich pedigree at this level. City are making their debut on this stage, while Chelsea were featuring in their third Champions League final, having won the competition in 2012. City are coached by Spaniard Pep Guardiola, who won the competition twice when guiding Barcelona, while Chelsea's German boss Thomas Tuchel led Paris Saint-Germain to the final last season, where they were beaten by Bayern Munich. Both have benefited from their foreign owners' willingness to invest in top international talent, with City's Sheikh Mansour, Bin Zayed Al Nahyan from Abu Dhabi, and Chelsea's Russian backer Roman Abramovich constantly providing the millions needed. Now, this is the points I would want to pick from this. Money well spent, you will get the results. Sheikh Mansour and Roman have spent millions, and they still intend to want to spend some more. And obviously, the more you spend, the better your team gets. The English clubs are spending so much money, and we can see an English club in the semi-finals of the Europa League, an English club in the finals of the Europa League now, two English clubs in the UEFA Champions League. Money well spent.
Well, it's funny that you say that the Chelsea fans are very noisy.
My personal opinion, very noisy, yes.
Yes.
They call them Agbero fans.
But
for the record.
But at the same time, we all lived through the point when Arsenal, even having not won anything, was still so noisy, talking about past glories.
Is that very patriotic fans?
Yes. And when you... Okay, so let me say this. If you are someone who hasn't gained as much as everybody else, you're going to compensate with it. You're going to compensate for it with a lot of noise. And I think Chelsea have been stung in the Champions League way too many times, that the competition means more to them than it does to perhaps Arsenal, perhaps to even to Man City. And I would probably say Man City, even though Sheikh Mansour took over the club much later than Abramovich took over Chelsea, he spent more money.
True.
And there have been limits even Abramovich wouldn't go to. I mean, Man City have never spent 100 million on any single player.
Not yet.
They've never even spent
Not
80.
yet.
But they've spent comparatively combined amount of money that has surpassed how much Chelsea have spent seasonally.
Yeah.
There have been seasons where no matter how good Man City finish, they still have to spend more money the next season, the next summer.
True that.
And if all it took was money, anybody would win. Anybody who got in the game would win it within the first or 2 seasons.
Okay, that was, if you're watching the screen right now, that's Chelsea's arrival at Porto. And they will train later this afternoon at the Estadio do Dragão. That's the stadium that will host the finals tomorrow evening. Now, Man City, too, have arrived in Porto ahead of the UEFA Champions League final against Chelsea. Now, City flew into the Portuguese city on Thursday and will train at the Estadio do Dragão today. Now, boss Pep Guardiola will also speak to the media on Friday as he previews Saturday's game. The final, which was relocated from Istanbul due to COVID-19, will be played in front of up to 16,500 spectators. Now, Porto is not a very big city. In fact, it's quite small. But one of the biggest stadiums across the world is the Estadio do Dragão. That's the Porto Stadium, and it's massive. Yeah. And it was actually from Istanbul to Porto and the Dragão, and the city is agog. You know, the media, the guys who actually sell things, they're actually all over the place. But the Man City guys, it's a sunny weather in Portugal. That was yesterday, and they're feeling I can see them, so much confidence, Man City.
Well, first of all, with the Porto, the game being played in Porto and the Stadio, that stadium has witnessed some very amazing European nights, and it is worthy of the finals. Man City now, they've struck. This is something that I don't think, if they lose, any of them will go home and be able to sleep at night for a few days.
No doubt. Okay, I will come to that. Now let's go all the way to Porto now. Now, Portuguese fans share their delights at the fact that the Champions League final is taking place in Porto. While some fans were slightly concerned due to the pandemic, most fans were very proud to say that the cases have reduced drastically in their city. Now, most fans also predicted a Manchester City win due to the number of Portuguese players currently in Pep Guardiola's side. But a few did express their dismay at the fact their side Porto couldn't reach the finals.
Honestly, yeah, just because of the game. I did get a ticket, so I will be at the stadium on Saturday, and I'm really excited for the game. Very excited for the game, actually. First ever Champions League final for City, and I'm looking forward to it. Right now, I'm wearing a Fernandinho jersey, but I'm going to be wearing a Ruben Diaz one, just for Portugal also.
I'm so happy. I'm really happy. I'm living here. I'm a PhD student. And so, yes, I've been living here for the past 2 months now. And I'm so happy that the Champions League final is happening here. I'm a big football fan. I am a little disappointed that my team Liverpool isn't in it, but I'm really happy. It's a huge occasion, and I think it's great for the city. I think Portuguese people love football, and the Champions League final is, of course, the biggest event.
Most of the Portuguese fans gives the game to Man City. However, that's simply sentimental because there are many Portuguese players in Man City. That's the only reason why.
I don't think that's the only reason why.
Technically, no, okay, let me ask this question the way I wanted to ask it before. Okay. In the Chelsea squad, I want to believe that Lampard brought in a lot of Champions League materials. Let me use that word. Timo Werner, Hakim Ziyech, Ben Chilwell. These are basically materials for the Champions League. And then you can actually add players like Christian Pulisic, Olivier Giroud, despite all, can still come in with his miraculous headers and make it happen. And then you're looking at Man City, who've brought in a stabilizer in defense in Ruben Diaz, and then who've got Raheem Sterling. They will run at you. They will come at you. Gabriel Jesus, they will run at you. And both teams are technically stable, if you ask me. And both teams have this game to win or lose. Now, whoever loses, what could go wrong? Let's start from loss first.
Man City's biggest strength is their midfield.
No doubt.
The way they play.
And they run at you.
Yes. They play the ball around you so easily. And when they're on the counter-attack, it is it is terrifying for you to see De Bruyne bearing down on defense. And the fact that even at pace, he can still make a pinpoint accurate pass that can split open any defense. Where Man City may fail is that no matter how good they are, going up against Chelsea, they seem to be well matched in every area. So when you think about the fact that Man City may set up with a front three, Chelsea will be defending with a back three. Wingers who can cross the ball, and that midfield defense axis that can pass the ball well enough to escape any pressure Man City puts.
Okay, we've identified the fact that Manchester City's major point ahead of any game is their midfield. But we've got one person, just one person we can actually put our trust in that Chelsea midfield, and that's N'Golo Kante. He will take 3 men on at the same time.
Yes.
You know, but won't it be too much work for N'Golo Kante tonight?
The thing is, I would be interested to see what choice Tuchel makes in midfield. Will he go with Jorginho to partner Kante, or will he put Kovacic, who is more capable of defending?
Yeah.
Is faster, so
And helping us in attack too.
yes, and in attack too. And then the fact that he can dribble through pressure, that is a useful skill to have. Jorginho has been proved to be undroppable and invaluable to the team because of his technical prowess. The fact that he can, barring the Arsenal game, he can make the right decisions and pass the ball well. But Kante, the thing about Kante is he is irrepressible. You cannot say that when you say he can take on 2 players, he goes on to the next game and takes on 3 players. If we say he will take on 3 players this game, he will probably end up taking on 4. And we saw how he played against Real Madrid.
Yeah.
There was no position for him. It was like he was playing in attack, he was playing in defense, he was playing in midfield. And at some point, you have to, because he's going to pressure De Bruyne, he's going to pressure Foden if he starts. Gundogan is going to have to deal with that pressure, and the midfield will be bossed. I think he's a one-man midfielder.
Okay, now Alexander Seferin has again condemned the rebel clubs who wanted to form a breakaway European Super League. Addressing UEFA members just 2 days before the Champions League final, the Slovenian said European football is probably stronger than ever. Seferin said there was a sense of irony in the ill-fated European Super League as the clubs needed their respective domestic leagues to establish their fame in the first place. And he also said a review of the governance of European football will take place in due course. Okay, now let me go to Naomi Osaka, who says, listen, she's made our media guys, our colleagues, make blunders day in, day out since she came. I am not going to be involved in press conferences after my matches anymore, which is cool. And as she says, the press, the media, don't ever look into how the player is going, what player is going through. He or she just lost a match. And then you want he or she to come and talk about the loss. Some people don't want to talk about it. They just want to go home and sulk. And then you want me to talk about it now. And she says they don't look at the mental health of the particular loser at that point. And of course, our media guys make a blunder again. They go to press and say, Naomi Osaka is said to have mental issues. And then she says, you see what I was saying? They didn't even wait for me to finish what I was saying. It's about the exclusives. It's about running to the office and saying, oh, God, I've gotten it. Not looking at the person involved, the subject involved in it.
The unfortunate thing about this story is that it highlights something that many people have been talking about for years. At first, it was with celebrity culture. The way the way paparazzi, the way the media treated these celebrities with such indignation, such little regard for their personal lives, their mental state, and the need to simply take up stories that highlight them in the worst possible
Okay, before we
ways.
go on with that, let me take this first off. Now, all tennis stakeholders should work on creating a safe environment for players whose mental health is at risk. A sports psychologist, the French Open champion Iga Swiatek, said on Thursday, now 4 times Grand Slam champion Naomi Osaka said on Wednesday she would not take questions from the press at the French Open, saying the nature of news conferences puts an undue burden on players' mental health. Now, Abram Watts said it was paramount to insist on the empathy and mutual respect between athletes and the press. Sometimes the organizers. Now, in tennis tournaments, players have to attend a news conference after each match and face a fine if they do not.
Yes, I absolutely understand the decision in terms of, when a player loses a match, and basically tennis, it's such a specific sport in terms of that, because at the end of the tournament, only one person doesn't lose. Basically, everyone else at some stage of the tournament loses. So it's tough emotionally to cope with. It is one of the challenges that tennis brings with the specifics of the discipline. That it's a very complex matter, that it's obviously extremely important because it kind of sheds a little bit light on how much this business side of sport, media side of sport affects mental health, well-being, and this sense of security sometimes. But on the other hand, I think that the most important fact for all the coaches, teams, psychologists, maybe organizations, and even sometimes press probably, will be to understand that this load, it might be a burden, and to educate and raise an awareness. I think that this voice might be a good, maybe not start, because the table, as you've mentioned at the beginning of our conversation today, is brought to the table again and again. But I think that there is a lot of space to raise an awareness and to find this topic as a complex matter that actually is basing on the mutual respect. And from my psychological point of view, this is one of the most important areas nowadays in high performance sports. This is today one of the key things that help and allow athletes to become a champion and to become a consistent on the highest level. There is no chance of escaping the additional pressure that media and social media, and especially sometimes even expectations of partners and sponsors, bring to the table. So what we try to do in terms of performance psychology nowadays, and obviously this is a topic for the longer discussion, is that we don't no longer work solely on the mental tools that help and allow to perform better, but also that we work on all the areas that help to create the most healthy passion and healthy career that it's possible. Absolutely, for some players, interacting with the press and letting it out might be helpful, even kind of therapeutic in some ways. But for others, it might be more overwhelming and tough to cope with. So from my point of view, psychologically, and in terms of managing the team and expectations and pressure, the most important and relevant thing would be to take and bring onto the table the best possible strategy that is perfectly suited for the particular player. But I absolutely am a strong advocate of bringing more mental health assistance to the table, to educate not only players, but also managers, but also coaches, but also obviously press and media people, because as I mentioned before...
Now, she's a sports psychologist, and she says it puts a lot of burden. I have a friend who's a Chelsea fan, who actually goes to watch football. His wife monitors the game at home. Immediately Chelsea loses, she packs the dinner into the freezer. My guy is not eating anymore. That's the kind of feeling some guys have when they lose. And she says it's a lot of burden. It's not fair when you insist the person must talk about it, not considering the person's mental state of health at that point in time. She says in some other sports, the guy can walk past the press and say no comment, no fine for that. But in tennis, you must sit down and talk about it.
The thing is, when you lose, it's kind of like a mini trauma.
True.
So no one should expect you, and when treating trauma, psychologists do not expect you to speak on it immediately because they know you do not have the capacity to, you do not even have the words to express those feelings in the right way. And then the fact that you want to put someone who's just gone through that in front of the camera, they could say something that they will later regret.
Somebody else backs up Naomi Osaka on this one. Retired Formula One world champion Nico Rosberg said he respects Naomi Osaka's decision to shun French Open press conferences for mental health reasons, but recognized opponents could find it unfair. The German made its considerable use of sports psychology as he battled and beat Mercedes teammate Lewis Hamilton, now the sport's most successful driver of all time, to the tide in a grueling 2016 season. Now, tennis players can be fined up to $20,000 for skipping a media conference at Roland Garros, but Osaka was ready to accept any sanction and hoped mental health charities would benefit. Rosberg recognized that he would have felt at a disadvantage if Hamilton had been able to excuse himself from media commitments, while he and others had to continue with them.
I mean, I did a lot of work myself with a psychologist to make progress, not only from a performance perspective, but also mental health perspective. And it's helped me massively in succeeding, of course, but also in my life. And yeah, Naomi, that's I didn't know about that, but I think it's quite a ballsy step again from her. I switched everything off when I was on my way to the World Championship. So no media, no news, no emails, nothing. I had nothing, no phone, no nothing. Just to focus for the last 5 months en route to the championship, because focus is a key differentiator when you're trying to have success. And the problem then was I came to the racetrack, and in front of me was dear Alan with 50 other journalists saying to me, you've never won before when you've been in such a situation. Are you not resistant to stress enough to be able to win? Are you too weak to win? Maybe are you just going to be the forever loser like Barrichello? No, let's not use the word loser, but number 2 as Barrichello. And that's not healthy to get those repetitions from you guys, because I can't just say I'm not interested in answering.
I think what Rosberg was trying to say, and for me, that would be psychologically unfair, because he's saying that if the loser doesn't talk, and you say, okay, the loser can walk away, but the winner comes to talk, that will be unfair to the winner too. So the winner must watch the guy gloat and sulk.
It shouldn't be that you are...
Should he get the pleasure of watching the loser sulk?
No, but you shouldn't... the sport itself, the governing body, should not be putting pressure on players to attend to the whims of...
I just read that, and they said the tennis players can be fined as much as $20,000.
The fact is, you still have a choice. No matter what, even the winner can walk away. So the reason why he stays is because he wants to gloat. He wants to talk about how difficult it was to cross the threshold of winning the game. And it benefits him in that position. Plus, if he has had moments in the past where his qualities has been questioned, now this is an opportunity to say, yes, I won it, and I did it the hard way, and I did it my way.
Okay, tennis. Top seed Novak Djokovic eased into the Belgrade Open semifinals on Thursday, dropping just one game against Fredrico Coria of Argentina. Playing in his hometown event, the world #1 wrapped up the 6-1, 6-love demolition in just under an hour, bagging the 922nd tour level singles win and moving him ahead of Guillermo Villas into 5th on the all-time list for most wins. In the other quarterfinal of the day, Alex Marcan also took less than an hour to advance as the Slovakian wildcard saw off Spanish veteran Fernando Verdasco 6-2, 6-love.
Yeah, it was a great performance. I mean, probably one of the best matches, if not the best match I've played this year. I felt fantastic on the court from the first point. Crowd is back, you know. I'm enjoying to play here in my hometown, in front of the home crowd, feeding off the great energy for, you know, the matches to come here, but also Roland Garros that is coming up next week.
Novak just always blows you away. On clay, on grass, he always blows you away.
I think he's kind of like a middle point between Federer and Nadal.
Nadal, yeah.
Yeah, he brings...
Nadal is the king on clay,
Yeah,
Federer on grass, and he just merges the two.
I think he has watched both of them play for a long time. And we saw the fact that it took a while for his name, for his stature in the game to get cemented. When he won the first time, we started to really take him serious because the gravitas of what he did, the energy brought to winning his first mate. So I don't know if we're looking at someone who in the next maybe 5 years, 10 years, we will be saying, because for me he's more of an heir to Federer.
No doubt, yeah.
Than Nadal or anyone else.
Okay, now some good news for, from the Philippines. Philippine athletes, coaches and staff bound for Tokyo received COVID-19 vaccines on Friday, as the coronavirus pandemic shows no signs of easing less than 2 months before the Summer Olympics open. Over 500 members of the Philippine contingent were inoculated with China's Sinovac vaccine in Manila, after the Interagency Task Force on Emerging Infectious Diseases approved the prioritization of Olympic Games-bound delegates and athletes. As one of the worst-hit countries in Southeast Asia by COVID-19, the Philippine athletes shared about increased confidence after receiving the vaccine. Tokyo is set to host the Games from July 23rd to August 8th after a one-year postponement due to the coronavirus pandemic.
And we're happy to inoculate the team, the Philippine team. And we're happy to help them to be protected. Remember, they're going to a country with the same situation, which is there is COVID-19 presence, infection in the community. The least thing that our athlete can receive nowadays is protection through vaccination.
So before we go on the show, the Philippines get their vaccines, one of the countries that were actually worst hit in the thick of the coronavirus pandemic. Finally, they get their vaccines, and they say it gives them a lot of confidence. Now they have the vaccine, it gives them confidence going into Tokyo for the Olympics.
I think one of the worries about a lot of people have had about this vaccine, about the COVID-19 situation and the Olympics, is that people might get the virus, and the congestion of people in that kind of environment. But I think the very fact that this is happening might speed up the need for vaccine distribution. They've been talking about herd.
Because even the Tokyo Olympics in Japan, cities like Osaka are saying altogether in the whole of Japan, only 4% people have got the vaccines. And you want to host the world in 2 months.
But the necessity of it might spur on a need to. The people in the city might feel like they have to get it. And the more people who get the vaccine, the better for us to beat this virus. And they've been talking about herd immunity for months. And if the maximum number of people at the event get it, if all the athletes have gotten it, then at least they are protected. And at least they can't pass on to each other and anybody else.
Thank you very much, Mukhail Tinubu. Thank you very much. That's all we can take on the show today. Plus Sports and PlusTvAfrica on a Friday morning. The weekend is here and rest is near. Join us tomorrow 11 to 12 on Plus Sports Special on PlusTvAfrica. Thank you, Esosa Iyai. Thank you very much, Sunday Biniba. My name is Wally Scott. Till Monday morning, like I always advise you at the end of every show, if not for anything, at least for your heart, do some sports.